we have your weekend Apple news.
The weekend Apple news where we talk about Apple tech and
Welcome back
Apple
to the channel.
sales.
So you know what we do on the weekends, don't you by now? We go through the Apple news. So I'm going to go through about 20 different Apple-related news stories, a whole bunch of tech and Apple-related sales that are online right now. I sit back. It's the weekend, so we're having some fun. I usually have a beer on the weekends. Today I have a Sapporo from Japan right there, and pretty good, right? Pretty refreshing, actually. And we just sit back and have some fun and go through the Apple news. So definitely subscribe if you want to kind of join us each weekend. This is every single weekend except when I go on vacation. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into the Apple news. All right, so story number one is not really a story. I just want to get your quick thoughts on a couple things here. Let's talk about actually, just really quickly, the new iPhone 16e. It came out, and I was super happy when I first saw it, and then I got really unhappy. And I think everyone has the same kind of feeling. We'll get into it here really quick. So if you look at my screen, here it is right here. The design looks very similar to what we thought. It's got the single camera, cut out in the back. Comes in white and black, so there's not too many color choices. And if we scroll down a little bit here, we see a couple positives here. It's 6.1 inches, not a bad size. That's what we thought. Comes with the A18 chip, which is great, right? Couple, obviously the big negative there is it doesn't have 5 GPU cores. It's only got 4, which we'll talk about in a second. Other things that are positives here is the battery life. It says 26 hours of battery life. That's actually more than the iPhone 16 standard size. The bigger iPhone 16 has a little bit more, like an hour more, but it's actually more battery than the standard 16, which is great. And that might be due to the modem, which we'll talk about in a second as well. So I'm thinking, I'm looking at all this stuff, and it looked pretty good and everything. But then I get to the price. It's grayed out over here, but it's $599, right? Now it comes with 128 gig standard. There's no 64 gig. I mean, that makes sense now in 2025. But I saw that price, and instantly everything kind of drooped down because I'm like, we're at a mid-range phone now. I was expecting it at $479 or something. Now it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you add tax and everything, we're talking another 150, 160 bucks. And it's just not worth it, I don't think. So we're kind of in that weird spot where if it was that $479, I think more people would buy it. Post in the comments, is the price put you off or does the price not put you off? I'm just curious here. So it obviously doesn't have MagSafe, which is a big thing as well, and for a lot of people. But you can fix that, which we'll get into. But still, why wouldn't they put that in? Now, some people actually came. Let me see if I can find the article in here. I think it's right here. It says right here, Apple denies speculation surrounding iPhone 16's lack of MagSafe. So a lot of people thought the MagSafe, the lack of it was because Apple put this new C1 modem in right here. So you can see Apple has confirmed that its custom designed C1 modem in the iPhone 16e has nothing to do with Apple's lack of MagSafe support. You can see in here. So you can see that that's not the case. So that was not, we've kind of debunked that at least, and that's one thing. So we're all kind of left scratching our heads and figuring out what it is. Well, we'll get into that, but really they kind of said in the article that it really comes down to they want to differentiate it from the iPhone 16, and they want to have a one less feature in there because otherwise it's too close for the $200 price drop, which I don't agree with at all because I think all of them should have that. Again, post in the comments what you think. And then another thing that it doesn't come with, and not that it's a big deal, but a lot of people don't understand this, it doesn't come with ultra wideband. So what does that mean? It means down here, the iPhone 16 doesn't have ultra wideband, so it misses out on a few things like precision finding for AirTags and Find My. It also impacts things like locks at home, certain vehicles that use Apple's car key platform, and more. So a couple of things in there it's going to affect, especially, the AirTags, maybe the accuracy of them or the distance and stuff. That's maybe the biggest one there. So that was another negative there as well. But overall, I think, I'm still, A18, it's a cheaper phone, all this stuff, but it just isn't cheap enough for me anymore. So I'd probably end up getting the 16. I don't know. I might have to get the 16e for the channel just to kind of showcase it. So we'll find out about that. But anyways, we know it's not about the MagSafe. Now, the actual modem itself, a lot of people speculate, like, why is Apple creating this modem, the C1 modem? Why are they doing it and getting rid of the Qualcomm modem? Well, again, people think it's the battery and stuff like that. It lets them control that. Now, that's a very, very small part of it. What I read basically is, Apple came to their senses because it's Qualcomm that's making them, and they're sending billions of dollars to them. And that's direct competition making the Snapdragon chips, right? Snapdragon is competition to Apple's M1 chips. And they're kind of feeding the beast, and they're actually want to get away from that. So it makes sense for them to do that. I think that's really the main reason. But with all that said, if you're still thinking about this phone and you want to get MagSafe, still, and you still have, it's like that you need to have it, otherwise you're not going to buy the phone. You can always buy something like this right here. ESR's new cases bring MagSafe support back to the iPhone 16 from just $10. So I was reading through this article. I mean, you can always go online and find cases that have the magnet in here, and you can attach all your stuff on here with the little magnet in the back for $10 here. Obviously, there's a lot of other cases. ESR is actually a pretty good company, believe it or not. They make a whole bunch of different cases that are a lot more attractive than that one. So obviously, you don't need to buy this little cheap one. But I wanted to show you how cheap it is if you want to kind of at least bring a lot of that back without kind of, you don't have to complain too much about it because it's $10 to bring some of it back, right? So overall, I think that's a good solution for most people. I hope everyone's having a good weekend, for sure. Cheers. All right, let's talk about one more thing about the iPhone, then we'll get into some other stuff here. So the iPhone 16 benchmark. Now, it's missing one GPU core from 5 to 4 like we talked about. And what does that mean? We got some numbers here, which is actually kind of, pretty interesting here. So if you scroll down, it says the Geekbench results were spotted by My Smart Price this morning in testing. The iPhone 16e scored 24,188 points in the graphic testing. That is 13% lower than the graphic testing for the iPhone 16 and iPhone 16 Plus. So 13% lower than the standard iPhone 16. I don't think that's going to make a huge difference for most people buying this phone. I don't think these people buying these phones are going to be huge gamers and stuff like that, at least games that are going to matter here. So that was one thing that I didn't think was a big issue. And then finally down here it says My Smart Price also points out to the regulatory finding in China that suggests that the iPhone 16 will support USB fast charging up to 29 watts. This is in line with the testing for the iPhone 16, which tops at around 30 watts. So it's very, very similar to the iPhone 16 there. And like I mentioned, it actually gets a little bit more battery length as far as the iPhone 16 standard. So that's actually all kind of positive there as well. But overall, there you go. I mean, you post in the comments what you guys think about this. The $5.99 is a total turnoff for me. I just don't know why they did that. Even if it was like, $5.29 or something, I could maybe stomach it. And again, it doesn't seem like a lot, right? But when you're getting into the budget, you're buying this for a reason, for a compromise. And then when the price goes up, it kind of leaves you kind of deflated. Okay, we have a couple things here I want to show you. So on Amazon, if you look over here, finally they have some sales coming in on these Mac Minis. Obviously, I do a whole bunch of them. I have an M4 Pro Mac Mini over there. Here's an M4, just an M4 standard, but this has got 16 gigs and an upgraded 512. You can see it's $719 now, so you're getting like, what is that, 81 bucks off. So obviously, this helps you stomach the cost of adding the extra storage to 512. So if you're an Amazon buyer, this could be a good deal, right? But we'll see if that's actually true. This next one, they finally had a little bit of room on as well. Not much, again, another $81 off here. This is going to be the version, the M4 chip, 24 gigs and 512 gigabyte SSD for $919. If you keep moving here, they finally actually have the Pro version, so the M4 Pro Mac Mini here. The base level, 24 gigs, 512, usually $13.99. They have it down to $12.99. So at least you're getting something from Amazon. But I've told people over the years, because I do a lot of Mac stuff on this channel, that's not where you should be getting it. If you're in the States or if you're anywhere near a Micro Center, Micro Center is still killing it with this. Take a look. So they still, here's their main page. If you go into the Apple section, here's all their Mac Minis. You can see they have $100 off the standard one all the time, basically. Here's the actual one that I want to show you. This is the Pro version. This is the standard Pro version. So if you go over here to Amazon, it's $12.99. If you go back over here, it's $11.89. So you're saving over $110 or $110 there. Same thing over here, even with these other lower versions. This is the version that comes with 24 gigs and 512 for $849. So if you go back over here it's $919, right? But over here, it's $849, so you're saving money there as well. And it goes all the way down the line. I mean, you can see $679, and that's going to be versus $719. So, and these prices are almost always like this. So just, definitely go in there and kind of fool around, even if you're not near one, and maybe you'll take a trip one day to a different state where you're passing one by, and you can save a couple $100 here. So I always think it's a good idea. They got sales on everything here. But if you really want to buy something from Amazon, obviously, here's one right here. And this is going to be the 14-inch M4 MacBook Pro, but it's got the M4 chip, not the M4 Pro chip. So it's really the base level. They have it at $200 off right now. It's not a bad deal. It's usually $15.99, now $13.99. And that's actually pretty good for the M4 chip. You get 16 gigs of RAM, and you get the 512 gigabyte SSD. So I think that's going to be one of the best laptop options for most people out there. We'll see what the Airs do here shortly. I think they're going to come in, and it's going to make things a little bit more muddy. But right now, I think this is a really good deal for kind of a base level user that just needs needs a really good screen and doesn't want to break the bank. Although, again, it's not cheap. Now, if you are a MacBook Pro user, let's say, and you're just thinking about the next iteration coming out, we got some more news on this for Mac Rumors. Right here it says MacBook Pro now expected to get the M5 chip before the iPad Pro. Apple will bring the next generation M5 chip to the MacBook Pro in the fall, followed by the iPad Pro in the first half of 2026. Can you believe that? So it looks like, well, again, these people are wrong in a lot of cases, so we don't know. But it says Gurman's latest claim flips the previously expected order of devices to transition from the M4 to the M5 chips, which is based on last year's M4 production. So M4, obviously we all know that the iPad Pro came up with the M4 first. We think that was because it was kind of like a test of that chip to see if it was going to work really good. But it says right here, Apple first introduced its M4 chip in an updated iPad Pro, like I just said, followed by the MacBook Pro in October. But it sounds like Apple will deviate from this timeline this time around. So it says before the release of the M5 Pro models, Gurman says that Apple will launch updates to the Mac Studio and the Mac Pro using its current M4 chips. Those machines could arrive around the annual Worldwide Developers Conference in June 2025. So the Studio we're missing, obviously, in the Mac Pro. Those are going to only have the M4 chips around June 2025. And then it says the M5 series is expected to feature the enhanced ARM architecture. So we're going to be getting with it. Basically, the M5 is going to have the 3 nanometer, it says here. Apple's decision to forego basically the more advanced 2 nanometer comes down to really cost, is what they're saying here. So all this we kind of already knew about. The only difference is going to be that later this year we're going to get the Pros with the M5s and not the iPad Pros. And that's different from last year. So that's at least what they're saying. And that's always the way it's always been. So I think we're going to go back to that. I think there was some testing going down with like the new 3 nanometer process and stuff, but I don't think that's going to be the way it goes forward. Not that this is going to be any good news or bad news or whatever, because we've been saying this for a long time now, and they're usually wrong. We have an update on the MacBook Air, the M4. It says right here, M4 MacBook Air models to launch by March at the latest. This is what Gurman's saying. He says, Apple will begin selling the MacBook Air models featuring its latest M4 chip by March, at the latest, mirroring the time frame of the M3 MacBook Air launch last year. According to Bloomberg's Mark Gurman, Apple has updated the MacBook Air lineup in 2024. He's saying that the dwindling supply of the M3 Air is so small now that it has to come out. It's immediate, so it could be in the next couple of weeks, but he's saying in March no matter what. So we'll find out, right? It's just another update to a whole list of these kind of rumors and stuff, and you just never know if they're going to be true. Okay, so we got a couple good sales here. If you're looking for external storage, again, this is not going to be Thunderbolt 4 or Thunderbolt 5, not the fastest, but like I always tell people, it's usually fast enough for 90% of people. Here's one from the Crucial X9. This is going to be the 4 terabyte model right now, up to about 1,050 megabytes per second. Look at this sale, though. It's usually $263, now $199, so 24% off. It's really, I think, one of the low price alerts. 4 terabytes right now. So 4 terabytes, $199 for external storage. Pretty good. Again, not the fastest, but what are you going to do there? 1 terabyte down here is 64. Let me just see if I can get over there. So I'll click on, yeah, so 1 terabyte right here is now 64 bucks, 29% off, usually $91. So maybe you test it with the 1 terabyte. If you like it, get the 4. Who knows, right? But anyways, these are fairly solid. Obviously, all these things are going to have issues here and there. But I like these because, again, it comes down to when you get up to really high speeds, you deal with heat. And a lot of people don't need those really high speeds. And like if you're doing video editing, it's one thing, or if you're doing stuff like that. But if you're just transferring files or doing backups and stuff like that, you really don't need it to be 3,000 to 6,000 megabytes per second. Trust me, you just don't. Because when you deal with that, things can overheat, drives can fail. So using something like this a lot of times is just more than what you need. So for 64 bucks or for 199 bucks for 4 terabytes, plug it into your little Mac Mini over there, you're golden. All right, this is one thing I just wanted to cover with people because it's kind of interesting to me. I looked it up myself, and so let's say you have notes. Let's say you use Apple Notes. Obviously, we all kind of probably use it if you use a Mac. And you put stuff in there, and then you lock the note. Now, you can obviously, I'm not going to get into how you lock the note. You can look that up online. But you can lock your notes, and it gives you, you put a passcode in. But I was curious, could you put stuff in there like passwords or whatever? Could you do stuff like that? Would it be safe in there? And according to what they're saying online is, I kind of knew this, but I wanted to reinforce it. So just something good to know. Listen over here. So I looked it up, and it says right here, yes. It says Apple lock notes are encrypted using end-to-end encryption. This means that only the user can access the contents. Well, that's one thing, right? Users can lock notes with their iPhone passcode or create a unique password for the notes. A 16-byte key is derived from the user's passcode using PBKDF2 and SHA-256. So note that all the attachments are encrypted using AES basically AES encryption right here. You can see it right here. So it's basically, if you go into here, it shows you how to do it. But long story short is it is fully encrypted. So it's not just locked. So like if someone was to break in and they try to get into there some way, it's going to be as encrypted as if you were encrypting in another way, which is actually good news. So the problem is you just can't forget what the passcode is, otherwise you may not be able to get in there. But overall, I thought that was kind of a good thing to note. So if you have very sensitive information that you want to keep, possibly you can store it in notes, lock the note. You know that it's going to be using this encryption, AES encryption 256, and you should be at least good enough for that until AI comes back. In a couple of years, AI is going to be smart enough to decode all of this stuff, right? I mean, AES 256 is not going to be enough. So that's the issue that they're all scrambling on right now, because AI is trying to figure out how to beat that. And when it does, basically, it's going to, and it probably already has in some cases, but it's going to make security a lot harder for a lot of people. So on the other side, they're using AI to try to, combat the security issue. So it's going both directions right now. But for now, I think this would work. Okay, a little bit earlier, we talked about the C1 chip being designed by Apple, basically, obviously, the modem. But Apple's doing some other changes as well. Take a look here on their phones coming up. It says all 4 iPhone 17 models said to feature Apple-designed Wi-Fi 7 chip. So it says earlier this week, Ming Chi Koi said that all 4 iPhone 17 models will be equipped with Apple's first ever designed Wi-Fi chip. He did not say which Wi-Fi version the chip will support, but it appears to be Wi-Fi 7. So, as we kind of go down there, it says basically the entire iPhone 16 lineup already supports Wi-Fi 7, so this is not much of a surprise. But the fact that the chip will be designed by Apple is notable. Apple recently debuted the custom-designed C1 modem, basically for cell connectivity, and now the company is expected to debut the in-house Wi-Fi chip as well for the iPhone 17 models. So they're slowly moving all of this stuff into in-house, obviously, controlling all of it, which is a good thing, I think, overall, because that's why Macs work so good. Obviously, the software is the same. You don't have external software a lot of times. At least everything works kind of because you don't have to deal with 1,000 different manufacturers. So I think this is actually a good thing for most people. But it looks like Wi-Fi 7 on the next phones, and they're all going to be it's going to be a new chip though. And those could be sometimes rough years because they have to go through some of the bugs. This next one I thought was kind of an interesting article just because, again, on the phone here, because obviously we saw that how the iPhone 16e went up in price. So what's going to happen to the other phones? And this is what we're all worried about, right? Are they going to go up too? I think they are. So right here, 9 to 5 Mac, it says iPhone 16e pricing hints at unpopular changes ahead for the iPhone 17s. So if we kind of scroll all the way down here, we're going to see a couple things in here. Let's just take a look. Let me see if I can find it. So here we go right here. It says right now Apple's lineup looks like this. We can see all the different prices in here. And we can see that iPhone 16e is $599. We got the iPhone 16 at $799. We got the Pros at $999 and $1199, right? And this is what's going on right now. If we scroll down a little bit further though, look at this. This is going to be likely something along these lines for the iPhone 17. The iPhone 16 is going to go up. Look at this, $50. And we're going to even go up on the iPhone 17 and the iPhone 17 Pro are both going to go up in price, $100 here. So overall, the entire lineup's actually going to go up in price on the 17s. That's what they're thinking. It's saying that Apple held out long enough because of inflation, but now they have the opportunity to do this, and they're going to do it. So especially with all these other things going on in the world, they think they're going to make this change. So obviously, now is you have to kind of weigh that if you want to get the 17 versus the 16. If you can get a really good deal on the 16, you're going to save quite a bit of money. Okay, so on this channel, we talk a lot about tech and stuff like that. And there's a drive out there that I always I've recommended it to people for quite a long time. I've used like 3 or 4 of these, and I didn't feel like getting them out because I have them in actual things I'm using. But this is a legitimate drive, and you've probably never heard of it before, but I think it works really well. And I don't even know how to pronounce it, to tell you the truth. It's right here. It's like FearXO or something like that. I have no idea right here. But take a look at this. This is I'll call it FireXO. I don't know. The P3000. We'll leave it at that. 512 gigabyte right now for $26. Again, this is going to be only up to around 3,000 megabytes per second, but this is going to be an M.2, Gen 3, and Gen 4 right here. And you can see the color, obviously it kind of looks like the Western Digital green there, but you get the idea. $26 for this drive. It's the lowest price in 30 days. I've never seen it that low before. I just wanted to give it a shout out. So if you want a really inexpensive drive for, like $27, 512 gigabytes, M.2 up to 3,000. This is a good one to get. And look at the reviews. It's got 4.3 out of 5. So I've looked at, I've been, like I said, they've made drives over the years. They've always had in the 4.5s, 4.3s, somewhere in that range. You're going to get faulty drives anywhere out there, especially, you just don't know. People that usually buy cheap drives usually buy cheap other stuff, and that can maybe affect it. But these drives usually have a pretty good track record. So take it with a grain of salt. Don't blame the messenger. I'm just telling you, I've used these before. I'm only one person, but for this price, it's a good deal. I wanted to get your thought on this one as well, as long as we're talking about phones here. This is from Mac Rumors. It says right now, Apple no longer sells any iPhone with the home button. And obviously you can look at this. This is one of the originals, but you can see the home button down there and everything else. Now, I actually carry, I have an Apple phone and I have an Android phone right here, sitting right here. The Google phone actually. And I like the Google phone for a specific reason. It's got an in-screen fingerprint reader, all right? So when I actually want to pull this out of my pocket, I can just down here somewhere, I can click on it and it's going to open the phone up just like that. It's going to open the phone up. And I don't like the fact that I have to sit there and go like this every single time I want to open the phone up, or if it's pitch black in the room or something. So I don't like the fact that they're getting rid of home buttons. I actually like the physical home button. I'm curious because I never hear people talk about this that much, but do you guys miss it too? Even an in-screen one, like, you get on Android phones. Would you like to have that on the Apple? I think most people would, but I just don't know because I never hear people talk about it. I know you can get used to like looking at the phone with, obviously Face ID, but something like that is so much nicer because if I'm like, let's say you're like, somewhere where you shouldn't be checking your phone. Let's say you're in church or something and you just want to look at the, you look down at it or something. You don't have to sit there and look at your face. You can actually just hit the button, or you can still do it in your pocket or whatever and then bring it out. I like it. You guys tell me, am I crazy or is that what people like? All right, we talked about Micro Center before, and these are you can get deals like this. This is crazy deals. Take a look here. This is for Micro Center. It says right here, Apple. This is going to be now. Granted, it's going to be only 8 cores, 8 gigs of RAM. So that's the kicker here. But a 512 gigabyte solid state drive. That's another kicker here. What do we have here? This is the M1 iMac, right? So 8 gigs again, but you get the upgraded 512 gigabyte SSD for $659. Now, granted, this one's certified refurbished. The other ones I showed you before were brand new. Most of them are new, but sometimes you get deals like this. But I can assure you, they take care. I've gotten some refurbished from them, and they take care of everything. They're almost like brand new. So for $659 right now, you can get this. It says $140 off, but originally this thing was $1,300. With the upgraded SSD there, you can't beat it. Now, would I recommend getting this right now? I have the M1 right here with 8 gigs, but I only got a 256 in this one. So, I would probably, it's one of those things where for most people it's fine, right? If you're doing your bills, checking the weather, stuff like that. But I run into some issues with the RAM here at 8 gigs, and it's just usually, it's a problem sometimes. But for $659, I think that's still probably the best all-in-one out there. And that price just keeps going down. I think I reported on it last week, and it was like $7.99 or something. So it's even cheaper now, and just keep checking this because it's going to probably keep going down. Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, I talked about, maybe last week or so, I talked about the UK. They have some crazy thing going on with Apple. They're fighting the encryption and stuff. And what's the outcome of that? Someone actually asked me to cover this, but I just found the article here. So Apple's actually going to be removing it. Just look at this. So it says 9 to 5 Mac. Apple is removing iCloud end-to-end encryption features from the UK after government compelled to add backdoors. Well, if you scroll down, Apple's removing the option to enable advanced data protection for iCloud users in the United Kingdom. This feature lets users fully protect their data stored in the iCloud with end-to-end protection. However, a recent UK government order forces companies like Apple to put backdoors in its encryption system in the UK. So rather than comply with the compromised advanced data protection, Apple is left with no choice but to remove the feature altogether. In a statement by 9 to 5 Mac, Apple said that its current users of ADP in the UK will eventually need to disable the security feature in order to keep their iCloud account, working. So they're going to get like a message like this. Apple can no longer offer advanced protection in the United, whatever. It's going to tell them, but then they got to disable that. If they don't disable it, they're not going to be able to use iCloud any longer. So Apple didn't fold there, which is kind of a good sign. The UK is saying, you have to do this, and Apple's saying, well, we can't do this and also offer this protection, and they ended up not doing it. So for all it's worth, there's the kind of the end to the story. How it's going to affect people out there, I don't know. I think it's kind of a bad thing, obviously. I understand things going on in the world where you may have to get information, but I just don't understand this, right? So it's I think I'm siding here, definitely with Apple, and you got to protect people's data, right? So they did the right thing. Okay, every once in a while, like on my channel here during the weekends, I always get a story that makes me have to take a sip, and this is one of them. Because it's a funny story, but it just gets me so mad. All right, here we go. Mac Rumors. Humane's $700 AI pin discontinued and defunct after less than 1 year. So Humane today informed customers that it's discontinuing its $700 AI pin at the end of February, with the device set to be taken offline in less than a year after it launched. And if I scroll down, you can kind of see it in here. Here's the pin. We all saw this. It was like on Marquise Brownlee's channel. We saw it was like this AI thing that kind of, you could put it on your hand or something. It like sprayed out information and you could see what it is, and it was all using AI and stuff. Total failure. It says the pin will work, and this is the crazy thing. So people spend $700 in this. It says the AI pin will work until 12 p.m. Pacific on February 28th. which is just 10 days from now. Can you imagine that? At that point, the PIN features like calling, messages, and AI queries and responses and cloud access will stop being available. Humane recommends that the AI PIN users sync their devices to Wi-Fi to download stored pictures, videos, and notes. Otherwise, the data will be deleted, and they're giving you like 10 days. It says this sudden discontinuation of the AI PIN comes as Humane is being sold to HP for $116 million. So they're going to make $116 million by selling their technology to HP, but everyone else is kind of screwed here. It says Humane does not plan to provide the majority of its customers a refund, even though the AI PIN worked for under 12 months. Refunds are only available to customers who are within their 90-day return period. Customers who purchased the AI PIN after November 15th, 2024 would get their full $700 back. Now hear me out for a second. It should be the exact opposite, right? If you were one of the first people to buy this because you thought it was going to be real and true and good, you should get your money back. The people that are dumb enough to buy this only 3 months ago after knowing all the stuff that came out on it, those are the people that shouldn't get their money back. Do you guys agree? So I'm saying like the dumbest people are the ones that just bought it. They should get nothing. The people that bought it at the beginning when they trusted this was going to be evolving, they should get their money back. Okay, we got another one here on Micro Center. I thought this was a good deal too. So if you're into MacBooks, here's the Apple MacBook Pro 16-inch. Hear me out for a second. So it's a 16-inch MacBook Pro. It's M3 only though, but still 36 gigs of RAM and a 512 gigabyte SSD. So you get 36 gigs of RAM, 16-inch, $17.99 right now. So that's really a good deal, I think. Now they're saying only $200 off, but obviously that's not right. This is what they were selling for it before. I mean, this was a lot more money when it came out new because it's a 16-inch. I think the minimum of $2,400, but you also get the 36 gigs of RAM here. Now it's only the M3 chip, but still with that extra RAM, depending on what you do, it's going to be faster than an M4 with less RAM. I can guarantee you that. And it's a 16-inch if you need the bigger one. So there you go. I think that's one of the better deals out there. And I just want to kind of share that with people. Okay, everyone out there has probably heard of low power mode. Let's say you have an iPhone and you think about low power mode, or it could be anywhere. I mean, it could be in your Mac too, but I'm going to just show you some stats here on the iPhone. People always wonder, does it really get that much slower if I put that low power mode on? The answer is, yes. Let's take a look. 9 to 5 Mac, it says, yes, using low power mode slows down your iPhone. You can see it here. So obviously, you got a little notch here, low power mode, if you turn that on because basically your phone's running out of battery. So how is it going to affect it? Not that this is like the end of the world or anything like that, but it says right here, a benchmark test used to score performance of different devices. This is the score of the iPhone 16 Pro Max's A18 chip with low power mode off. So with low power mode off, you get a single core of 3141 or 3341, a multi-core of 8270. But then it says with the same thing they ran the same exact thing with the low power mode on. And look at the single core, 1384. This is 3341, 1384. And then look at this, multi-core, 8270 down to 4093. So basically, I mean, it's more than half, obviously. It's more than half as slow. So I wanted to show people this. You get the information down here, actually. It's probably easier just to show you down here. But you get the idea. So overall, if you're wondering, are you taking a little bit of a small hit on performance or a big hit? It's over half. I mean, you're losing like over half of your stuff. So I think it's a pretty big hit. Okay, here's the sale on Amazon. We've gone to, last week we had the 42 millimeter. This is actually the 46 millimeter Apple Watch 10 series. It's on a good sale here, 16% off right now. So usually $430 roughly, it's $359. Right here, the Series 10, but this is the 46 millimeter. So it's a lot of times this is I think a pro light. It might be at the low price or at least tied with it. I think it's tied with it right now. I mean, obviously we've covered the smaller watch a lot of times because that gets a little bit cheaper. But this one here is rarely on this good of a sale right now. So $359, I think if you want to pick one up, definitely head over to Amazon and see if you can find one. They're good pricing right now, and I don't think it's going to get much lower than this for probably until around Christmas time. All right, talking about the actual watches, let's say you want to get a watch band now. Well, we talked about this a little while ago, but I want to prove to you how good of a deal this is. So here's Woot right here. And if you scroll down, you can go to woot.com. Inside of here, they have the Apple Watch braided solo loops, and they're $29 right now. And you can see in here, they're usually $99. At least that's what it's saying, right? And I was like, could that be true? So $29 here, all across the board, $99 down to $29. They're completely real branded Apple bands. All right, so I clicked on one of them here, and you can look in here again. It says Apple Watch braided solo loop, $99, 70% off. A whole bunch of different designs in here. Then down here it says, attention, these brands are not adjustable. They come in up to 12 different sizes, so you got to make sure you get the exact size that you want. So I'm like, is that really true? Are they really that, usually that expensive? So I went right over to Apple's website right here, and this tells you where you can actually, go ahead and size them over here. They have like a sizing chart down here, start your measurement. But long story short, here they are selling them right on Apple Store right now for $99 right here. You can see it. So if you go to Apple Store, you're going to pay $99. If you go to Woot, you're going to pay $29. And you can go to Apple over here to do the sizing chart down here to make sure you get the right size. It's going to show you how to do that. But then go back to Woot and buy it. Okay, so obviously if you're watching me, you use YouTube a lot, right? Here's some good news right here from Mac Rumors. It says cheaper YouTube Premium Lite, ad-free tier reportedly coming soon. So this is kind of interesting to me. It says Google will ultimately launch a new, more affordable YouTube Premium tier in a bid to basically appeal to more viewers who don't really watch music videos. Now this is interesting to me. Why music videos? So it says a lower priced version of Apple's paid video subscription service will function largely without ads. Through music video, although music videos on the platform will continue to include, ads for them. So what it's basically saying is YouTube Premium right now is $13.99, and that basically is a month, and then you don't get any of the ads when you're watching things like me. But they're going to be coming out with a cheaper tier. They don't give the price in here. Maybe it's $9.99, maybe $8.99, but so you're going to get rid of all the ads. But what's the catch? Well, if you watch music videos, you still get the ads. But if you don't, like tech videos like me or anything else, you would not get any ads. So I would totally go after that, right? And that may actually make me, if it's cheap enough, it's like $7.99, I think it would be totally worth it. We still get paid, obviously for our ads because we get a cut of whoever watches it with that tier. So it doesn't matter to me if you guys watch it, obviously or not. But still, I think for me personally, I might get it because I hate watching the ads too. But obviously, people need to, they need to make money somehow, and that's one of the ways they do it. Okay, we're going to wrap this up. Obviously, this is our kind of our little news thing on the weekends, but I got a couple good videos coming out. I keep talking about it. Sooner or later, I'm going to get the BenQ shipped in. I'm going to do the BenQ 5K, do a review on that. I got a whole bunch of new hubs over there for the M4 Mac Mini we're going to try, so we're going to get some reviews of that. I got another kind of Mac accessories video coming out soon with a whole bunch of different Mac accessories. I got some leather cases and stuff, a whole bunch of cool stuff. So cheers, subscribe to the channel if you can, and we'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.